Good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Che for Arirang News. We start at the local political realm. Korea's main opposition party, the New Politics Alliance for Democracy, has a new leader. His name is Moon Jae-in. He claimed victory with more than 45% of the vote at the party convention earlier this Sunday. His mission is no small task, though: revamp a party in turmoil and lead it to victory in two critical elections this year and next. Our political correspondent, Ji Myung-kil, starts us off.
Moon Jae-in was elected the chairman of the New Politics Alliance for Democracy, promising fresh leadership and vowed to bring together a party stricken by deep-rooted factional strife.
From this moment on, our party will renounce lethargy and factional divisions. We will move forward through change and unity, defend democracy, and work to boost the economy. I, Moon Jae-in, will reward the party by leading it to victory in the general election.
Moon overtook rival candidates Park Ji-won and Lee In-young. He inherits the post from the interim leader Moon Hee-sang. The chairmanship has been vacant since co-leaders Ji Myung-kil and An Chol-soo stepped down in July. The country's largest opposition group has seen its popularity drop since the by-elections in July due to an overwhelming defeat by the ruling Saenuri Party. Since the drubbing, the party has failed to present a clear vision of its goals, grappling instead with internal feuds. 5 Supreme Council members were elected at the party convention on Sunday. They and Moon are tasked with leading the party to an upcoming by-election in April and the general election next year. The new leadership was elected through spot polls of party representatives and opinion polls of party members and the general public. The party also adopted a revised version of its constitution, which stipulates the rules for nominating candidates for the general election. With a new leader in place, the party now faces the challenge of regaining the public trust and presenting a vision for the party in the future. Ji Myung-kil, Arirang News.
Well, when you're done, the only way to go is up. Good luck to Mr. Moon there. Let's move outside of Korea. Well, South Korea, and the U.S. are in the final stages of concluding their bilateral civilian nuclear accord. Government sources said Sunday the revised version will allow Seoul some freedom to reprocess spent nuclear fuel for research and development purposes. This was the most contentious issue for South Korea, which needs the consent of the U.S. when dealing with spent nuclear fuel. Also important for Seoul was securing a stable supply of nuclear fuel and promoting nuclear power plant exports. The two countries have been negotiating for more than 4 years to revise the bilateral accord, which was set to expire last year, but was extended to March 2016. North Korea fired 5 short-range missiles off its east coast on Sunday. According to a South Korean Defense Ministry official, the missiles hit the sea after traveling about 200 kilometers. The reclusive regime frequently fires short-range missiles as part of military drills, usually to demonstrate its military prowess when feeling pressured by the outside world. The latest firing comes ahead of a large-scale South Korea-U.S. military drill scheduled for March. While the two allies have said it time and again, the annual exercises are defensive in nature. Pyongyang sees the drills as a rehearsal for war. The United Nations imposed sanctions banning North Korea from launching longer-range ballistic missiles, but not short-range missiles. South Korea is pushing for progress on the North Korean nuclear issue. Seoul's foreign minister is making the rounds to move things forward, meeting first with his U.S. counterpart and then with Russia's foreign minister. Our Connie Kim reports.
South Korea and the U.S. are seeing eye to eye on how to deal with North Korea's nuclear weapons program and have both expressed concern about the North's advancement of its nuclear capabilities. Seoul's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se met his U.S. counterpart John Kerry on the sidelines of a security conference in Germany on Saturday, where they said Pyongyang's nuclear program represents the biggest security threat in Northeast Asia. Minister Yoon said the two countries are working closely together on the issue and will continue to pressure the North to denuclearize. The two senior officials also agreed that this year would be a good time for President Park Geun-hye to visit the U.S. and promised to consult with one another about the timing and agenda of her trip. Minister Yoon also stressed that it's important for neighboring countries to pressure North Korea to make the right decision and relay a consistent message to Pyongyang. Underlining Seoul's efforts for denuclearized North Korea, Minister Yoon is meeting with Russia's foreign minister on Sunday to highlight the need for cooperation between the two Koreas and Russia.
We will discuss specific ways to speed up North Korea's denuclearization process among the 5 nations, including Russia.
The 6-party talks involving the two Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia that aim to denuclearize Pyongyang have long been stalled since 2008. Seoul's push to tackle the North Korean nuclear issue is expected to continue during a Korea-China-Japan ministerial meeting scheduled to take place in Seoul next month. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
A senior U.S. official is in Seoul for talks on North Korea's nuclear program and other shared regional concerns. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Antony Blinken will meet with South Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Cho Tae-young on Monday, but he may also have to answer questions about a recent comment. A day before his arrival in Korea, Blinken stirred controversy with his first Twitter Q&A, responding to a question about China's opposition to possible U.S. deployment of the THAAD system in South Korea. Blinken said deployment of the missile defense system is a possibility. When asked to reaffirm his comments, he did not reply. Wrapping up his visit in Seoul on Tuesday, the U.S. official will continue his 3-nation trip with stops in China and Japan. Structural reforms regarded as crucial for reviving the Korean economy may be getting a rough shake this year, mainly due to public fears about tax increases as the government wrestles with critical decisions about its welfare policies. Our Kim Ji-yeon has this report.
The controversy in Korea surrounding welfare and taxes is raising concerns that it'll put the brakes on structural reforms. The reforms, categorized into 4 main sectors, including labor, education, and finance, are seen as necessary for reviving the Korean economy. Initially, the government argued that the next several years were crucial for carrying out the reforms. This amid concerns Korea was going to take the brunt of the blow from its fast-aging society and low birth rate. Local studies indicate Korea's potential growth rate is going to decline mainly due to labor shortages in the next decade. But it's not just the population changes. Economic indicators from the start of the year are deepening the wrinkles as well. The country's exports were slashed nearly 0.5% in January from the same period last year to $45.4 billion US. The number of those employed is estimated at some 450,000 this year, down significantly from last year's 533,000. Also, deflation fears are spreading as inflation rate increases remain in the 0% range for the second consecutive month in January. The country's major retailers have seen their sales snap in January from the same period last year. Lotte Mart posted a sales drop of nearly 22%, while E-Mart and Home Plus each posted a drop of 15%. Major department stores, including Hyundai and Shinsegae, also posted a 4 to 6% sales drop during the same period. The government's year-end tax adjustments are not helping to boost consumer sentiment either. Taxpayers are to receive smaller returns or cough out more this year than in previous years. That's because the government has been running a deficit for 4 years and is also trying to meet a campaign pledge made by President Park Geun-hye to boost welfare. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
In response to the rising controversy, Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan said on Sunday the government will push through with structural reforms as planned. To implement the welfare programs, though, he said the government will first try to collect more from unregistered economic activities and cut state spending. He added that tax increases would happen only through public consensus. Choi also asked the public for patience before jumping the gun when it comes to debating the effectiveness of the government's welfare policies, saying they're still in their infancy. Meanwhile, a local institute has also weighed in on the subject. The Hyundai Research Institute says a tax hike should be the last-ditch option the government pursues to revive the economy, since it could affect consumer sentiment. Citing the case of Japan in the 1990s, the institute warns that consumer sentiment could have a negative effect on the government deficit as tax revenue drops. Although Korea's reliance on state bonds remains at around 15%, nowhere close to the 43% for Japan at the time, the institute says that could change quickly. It cited population changes spurred by Korea's low birth rate and rapidly aging society as contributing factors, since that's what led to the decade-long recession in Japan. Outside of Korea, Shiite Houthi rebels in Yemen have dissolved the parliament and are forming a transitional administration there. The rebels said they would quickly appoint an interim and inclusive National Assembly led by their representatives. This comes after they failed to reach any agreement with the country's political factions on a new government. However, their rivals and the nation's foreign backers have voiced strong objections to the moves. According to Kuwait's official KUNA news agency, the Gulf Cooperation Council accused the Houthi rebels of staging a coup in Yemen. The council called the takeover a threat to the security and stability of the region and the interests of its people. Yemen has been in political limbo since the president and prime minister resigned last month after the Houthis seized the presidential palace. And now it's time for the weather. Well, here in Korea, we're supposed to be entering spring now, but we have some wintry weather packages coming up on Monday. We'll have sub-zero temperatures beyond -11, complete with bone-chilling winds and a light amount of yellow dust in the air. But we do have warmer conditions coming up on Tuesday, so we can look forward to that. And now let's check out the weather conditions in your neck of the wood and around the world. And we've come to the end of our newscast. Thank you very much for watching. Here's wishing you a great start to your new week.